Hello, welcome to Ignite 2021. It is absolutely fantastic to have all of you joining us today. I really appreciate it. You know, you look at the agenda, you got some just amazing keynotes ahead of you, and some that you've already seen with Nikesh and Jen Easterly, and you'll see Leanne with Lena Waith, and of course you have Nir doing Nir and talking about zero trust. But I kind of think that I have the most exciting part of the show, because I get to tell you about all of the amazing innovations that we've been working on, several of which I will tell you about for the first time ever. So thank you for joining us for this. And timing-wise, I think this is incredibly important. You know, as we all know, the last couple of years have seen tremendous change in the industry and what all of you are dealing with, but not just dealing with, but actually driving and enabling. Whether it's the shift from, you know, everyone coming to the office and then everyone working from home, and now this new norm of hybrid work and trying to figure out what it takes to really safely enable that to happen. The shift to the cloud, while not new, is accelerating. Just about everyone I talk to is on some sort of cloud-first journey, leveraging the cloud wherever possible. And as these two transformations are happening, everyone that I talk to is realizing that point products are absolutely impeding their ability to drive these transformations and achieve the kind of security outcomes they need. On top of all of that, the attackers have not stood still. In fact, they have only expanded and both their capability as well as the volume of attacks they're driving. You know, one metric that I've really sort of latched onto in terms of the importance here is the number of nation-state attacks that have, how fast that's increased over the last couple of years. So it's basically doubled in 2 years. Now you might say, what does nation-state attacks have to do with me? Part of what is so interesting about this is how many of these attacks have shifted from nation-state to nation-state to nation-state to commercial enterprise. This has now become a problem for everyone to deal with. And at the same time, the volume of highly impactful events and attacks is only on the rise. This is only 4 months worth of high impact data breaches and attacks. This is the landscape that we're dealing with. And so, you know, from Palo Alto Networks' perspective, what are we doing? Well, we are trying to provide the solutions and the capability and the expertise to help you not only deal with this, but actually get ahead of this threat landscape. From a network security perspective, really driving this expansion from hardware to software to cloud delivered. In Prismacloud, doing everything we can to enable this transformation and shift to the cloud. Security operations and thinking about a whole new approach to how we leverage data, AI, ML, and automation to better protect you and respond to attacks. And a more recent addition and expansion of our focus is around threat intelligence and security consulting, and how we can actually bring security expertise to your doorstep and help you in your time of need, and increasingly proactively help prepare you for the kind of attacks that are out there. Now, I'm going to spend most of my time today talking about the first 3 areas. Wendy Whitmore will join us tomorrow and walk you through a lot of the incredible stuff that Unit 42 is doing. All right, so let's start with network security. Let me backtrack just a quick second. So what is happening? You know, several years ago, the model for network security was you centralize as much of it as possible and you build up this big network security stack where you have all of your different network security capabilities. And I would argue that this wasn't really the best model, stacking and adding a bunch of different products. There's complexity and all sorts of other issues with this. And obviously what we drove with Next Gen Firewall was ways to simplify this. But in general, this could kind of work because your users were mostly on campus, your apps were mostly in the data center. But what's happened recently with the shift to remote workforce and hybrid workforce is your users are now working from everywhere. At the same time, the applications they're trying to reach are increasingly in the cloud and everywhere. And the result of this is a pretty nasty backhaul architecture that is not conducive to employee productivity whatsoever. This is also not the answer. The answer is not to completely different and disjoint security stacks for the different places that network security has to happen. This is also a mess. It's a mess from a security perspective, it's a mess from an operational perspective, and quite frankly, it is a mess from an employee productivity perspective. And the solution needs to solve both of these, or really all three of these problems: security outcomes, operational capability, and employee productivity. And that is what we do with our network security platform. This starts with an ability to have the right form factors, whether it's hardware, software, cloud delivered, aka SASE, to have consistent security capabilities, and then the ability to integrate core best-in-class security services like threat prevention, like URL filtering, like Wildfire, which does the malware analysis, DNS security, advanced URL filtering, and to keep coming out with additional best-in-class security services that tie natively into the different form factors in a consistent way, such that you have consistent security, consistent operation, and an amazing employee experience from a productivity perspective. This is what we are able to enable. This is critical to enabling the hybrid workforce to reach a more cloud-first application architecture. Now, over the last several months, there's been some pretty incredible innovation that we brought to market. Just to recap quickly, from a next-gen firewall perspective, new 4th-gen hardware, this incredible, in some cases up to 10 times faster than the previous generation, PAN-OS 10.1, a number of critical capabilities, helping to reestablish our leadership at the forefront of zero trust capabilities, things like Cloud Identity Engine, Device ID, and many other capabilities. On the SASE front, ADEM, Autonomous Digital Experience Management, was brought into SASE earlier this spring, and then most recently last month, we extended that from mobile users into branch offices with the integration into our Prisma sd-wan solution. Security services, advanced URL filtering, a whole new approach to URL filtering, making it relevant not just for sort of controlling what websites users can go to, but actually making it a critical component of security and how you accomplish web security by actually looking at the response traffic real time as opposed to relying purely on crawlers to analyze websites. DNS security enhancements basically doubled the number of detection capabilities we have, continues to leverage heavily AI, ML type capabilities. We have a new Wildfire capability as well, where we actually have now extended the API to be able to integrate with third-party tools, third-party applications. Really excited to see how this will help enable Wildfire's capabilities around malware analysis into custom applications as well. And speaking of our security services, this is where I want to introduce the first new announcement of Ignite and tell you about our next-gen CASB announcement. The CASB market, which as most of you know is Cloud Access Security Broker, it's supposed to be focused around SaaS security. This has really not been much of a security market in the past. It's largely been a compliance market. It's check the box, it's take some logs, create some visibility reports, handle a handful of SaaS applications, do a little bit of threat detection along the way, and produce some reports. And I think that SaaS applications are far too important for such a superficial approach to securing them. And that is why we have developed and are announcing next-gen CASB. First and foremost, this is focused on being able to see and secure all applications. And a key aspect of this, we are leveraging ML modeling to be able to identify new SaaS applications as they come out, characterize them, and then help map those into appropriate security policy. Second, as all of you know, collaboration applications have been the lifeblood of how hybrid and remote workforces remain productive when we're not all able to be in the office. Applications like Slack and Zoom and others. And what we've done is we've taken our DLP engine, we've extended it with a number of new critical capabilities around optical character recognition, exact data match, and other things like that, combined it with machine learning in order to be able to secure I'll call them the traditional SaaS applications, but also extending into this new breed of collaboration applications as well. And third, we've taken the best of our security capabilities, our ability to detect known attacks, unknown attack, zero-day threats, and be able to detect and stop these attacks against SaaS applications. This is what SaaS security should be. This is our next-gen CASB offering. All right, switching gears from network security to cloud security. Cloud security obviously has been a just incredibly important part of how we can help you secure your transformation to the cloud. And what does that transformation look like? You know, initially, several years ago, I would have said that the majority of this was lift and shift. Take an application as is, simply run it in the cloud. Pretty quickly, everyone realized that that alone was not really taking advantage of the cloud. And so that started to give way to more cloud-native application architecture. And around that time is when we really, as Palo Alto Networks, really started to think about how we build a cloud-native security platform for safely enabling the use of cloud. Interestingly, a lot of the techniques used in public cloud have now actually worked their way into private cloud as well. We're seeing some of the same concepts around microservices, build, deploy, run, CI/CD pipelines, and things like that. All of this means that cloud security is incredibly important, but also has to be tailored at this new reality of how cloud applications actually work. This is not the approach, though. You're not going to get there with point products. It didn't work on the enterprise security side, and it absolutely will not work in the cloud. You cannot stitch 10, 12, 15, and more point products together and actually still enable a highly dynamic and automated cloud environment, which is why we developed Prismacloud, which takes a platform approach to cloud security. And what I mean by a platform approach is delivering best-in-class, best-of-breed capabilities, but in an integrated platform such that we do all of the system integration for you, and you simply consume the capabilities as your security needs evolve. This means CSPM, this means CWP, or Cloud Workload Protection, Cloud Network Security, Cloud Identity Security, a comprehensive set of security capabilities, but from that one platform. And we just made it way better. From a CSPM perspective, we just released an adoption advisor that really helps walk you through the process of activating and enabling all the different capabilities. We are announcing, and next month we will introduce agentless scanning to go hand in hand with our agent-based scanning, which is the most comprehensive and fastest way to do vulnerability scanning. The agentless scanning will complement that for environments where you need the simplicity of agentless scanning to complement the environments where you need the agent-based scanning. We'll be the first to be able to offer both in a tightly integrated fashion. Just this month, we will be releasing, already announced a little bit earlier, a Google Cloud IDS product. Actually, Google will be introducing it. It's powered by our VM series technology. This is an incredible step forward in how cloud network security is accomplished because it has native integration into the cloud itself. Super cool. And last but certainly not least, the cloud identity security capabilities, or cloud infrastructure entitlement management, as it's known in the industry. This has been an incredible addition to Prismacloud. Over the last 9 months or so, we've grown the customer base based on the amazing capabilities for doing this in AWS environments. And just a couple weeks ago, we rolled this out with Azure support, announcing it here for the first time. So just a number of incredible capabilities with Prismacloud 3.0. But there's one more area I want to talk about. And I first want to describe the challenge we're trying to focus on. A lot of cloud security has been focused on, well, cloud security. What happens once something is rolled into production? Is it safe? Is it secure? And that makes a lot of sense. But in cloud, the rate of change and the rate of development and introducing new applications and updating applications is constant. And so actually, the more we can embed security into the development process and fix security issues there, the easier it is once an application rolls into production. This example here is an example of a single misconfigured infrastructure as code template, like a Terraform template, that as it goes through the CI/CD process and it gets replicated across more and more applications, by the time it gets into runtime, it could actually create thousands of security alerts. Wouldn't it be easier to catch it when it's an issue of one? This is the core concept behind a company called Bridgecrew that we acquired earlier this year. And I'm super excited to announce we just kicked off the beta of the Bridgecrew integration into Prismacloud, what we're calling Cloud Code Security, which, as you would expect, certainly focuses on the infrastructure as code security capabilities. In addition, drift detection. We're also doing container image scanning, which is something that we've been doing for a while as part of cloud workload protection, but we're aligning into cloud code security module, secret scanning. There's a number of cloud-specific code security requirements, and this has become the latest focus of Prismacloud and an incredibly important part of how we see cloud security evolving in the approach needed for cloud security to really scale as your cloud adoption scales. And speaking of which, that is exactly how we see Prismacloud being adopted by many of you. As your security needs evolve and grow and expand, and the use cases needed, we are trying to stay steps ahead of you. So you may not be thinking about code security yet, but I guarantee you will be. Just like a few years ago, you might not have been thinking about cloud workload protection, but we were. And so everything we're doing in Prismacloud is focused on how do we stay a step ahead of your needs so that when you are ready, we have the capability, simply activate, consume, and use it from Prismacloud. Okay, so security operations, the third big product pillar I want to talk about. Let me first step back, though, and describe the challenge we're trying to solve here. You know, the Security Operations Center, they have a requirement, or at least a goal, of basically taking in all of the alerts, analyzing them, understanding what's going on, responding to attacks. Sounds simple enough, but over the years, they have become more and more overwhelmed by just the sheer number of alerts coming in. And the metrics basically support this. More security products creating more alerts getting ignored. That's not going to facilitate a good security outcome. And so what's been happening? Well, in an attempt to deal with this, the security industry, as it often does, comes out with point products. EDR for endpoint data, NTA for network data, cloud analytics for cloud data, IoT for IoT devices, and UEBA and others that focus on specific data types, saying, we can do analytics on this data type. It's not working. The data tells us it's not working, but we also all know intuitively it's not working. We fundamentally need a better approach. And as we started thinking about this, we look around the world, we see how AI and ML are transforming how things work. What if we could use AI and ML to really revolutionize security operations? So we've been laying the groundwork for this as we looked at EDR and we said EDR actually needs to become XDR. It needs to become detection response across all data sources. When we looked and we said we need to be able to understand the entire attack surface to make sure that we have complete security across the entire enterprise. And that is where Expanse comes in. Looking at all the manual work happening and saying all of that needs to become automated. And that is what XSOAR does. And so we've been approaching each of these three core building blocks and saying, how do we make each of these absolutely best in class? And that's exactly what we've done. With XDR, there's just been a series of innovations over the last 2.5 years, really making XDR the preeminent way of doing data collection and analytics across multiple data sources. Prevention first, but knowing that prevention isn't the only thing that needs to be done, collecting data from multiple sources, analyzing it, using AI/ML, auto-learning, and then actually feeding back into the prevention capabilities so that today's detection becomes tomorrow's prevention. An absolutely incredible product, most recently extended with XDR 3.0, where we extended XDR to incorporate data from the cloud, as well as data from all sorts of identity sources, extending not just the data we can collect, but the analytics that we can drive. On Expanse, this is basically taking a look, an outside-in approach and understanding everything across your enterprise. And really giving the insights so that you can proactively deal with issues as opposed to having to wait for an attacker to find a gap and take advantage of it and then have to react to it. This has been an incredible addition, I know, to our own SOC. It's been an incredible addition to many of our customers. And one really cool capability that we just rolled out about a week ago is focused on the remote worker networks, actually giving visibility into the remote worker network. Now, you say, why would that be interesting? If you haven't noticed, the remote employees network actually has sort of become part of your network by extension. And so what this allows is an ability to gather and correlate network information from these environments, understand where there are key security gaps, both on the infrastructure, but also from a configuration perspective. In just the first environments we turned this on, we've seen all sorts of crazy stuff like RDP left open, SSH left open, horribly misconfigured routers that are insecure. Those insecurities extend back into the enterprise, and this visibility allows you to proactively address them as opposed to ending up in a reactive situation. And third, XSOAR. Our goal here is basically to automate everything from a security perspective. Everything in the SOC, but also extending that into other security use cases. And this has been an incredible addition to our capabilities. And instead of talking about technology, I just want to share a few statistics. You know, we now can support about 800 different automation use cases with XSOAR, which translates into about 4.9 billion automations that have been run across our customers. 4.9 billion activities have been automated that otherwise would have been manual work for somebody. And a lot of this has been enabled by the shift toward a marketplace model where you can easily download content, where we've now seen about 95,000 downloads of content, which are enabling all these use cases, enabling all these automations. It's incredible progress. Now, one aspect of this that I think is really interesting is to actually give you an example of what using XDR, Expanse, and XSOAR together can really accomplish. This is an area where sometimes just telling you what we're capable of doing isn't enough. So I want to show you what is possible when we get security operations right. And I'm going to tell you the story of Palo-Alto Networks and our SOC and what we are able to accomplish. We, of course, use our own products extensively. This is the foundation of our approach to security. We also have a number of third-party products that we combine in with our own products, where areas that we don't do, things around identity and stuff like that. And of course, we tie all of that into Cortex, into Expanse, XDR, XSOAR. All of that feeds into our SOC. Now, what are we able to accomplish with this approach? Here is a day in the life of Palo-Alto Networks. We collect about 16 billion events every day. Out of all of that, we translate all of the alerts coming in, we filter, we do everything else. We get to about 467 alerts. We map those to incidents because it's really about incidents, not alerts, and we get to about 67. Of the 67, about 58 of those are automated away, leaving about 9 a day. 9 a day for a company of our size is very, very doable for our SOC analyst, which means we have 0 major incidents and the key statistics here when compared to the start of this part of the presentation. The mean time to detect is about 10 seconds. The mean time to respond is about a minute. This is what we believe every SOC should be able to accomplish from a statistics perspective. And this is what we're driving with Cortex and the innovations around security operations. And so with that, I just want to go back to where we started. Just incredible innovation across our network security platform, our cloud security platform, and our Cortex security platform. And again, all of which complemented by the threat intelligence and the security consulting of Unit 42. Really, this is the new Palo-Alto Networks. This is what we're able to offer you as your cybersecurity partner of choice. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us this year, and I hope you all well.